What's going on? Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to carry on the OSCP Offensive Security Pathway from TryHackMe. In today's video, we're going to go over the machine GameZone. The machine GameZone is composed of learning how to use SQL injection in the login forms and the search forms. We're going to do that both using SQL map and manually. This is the first stuff. The second stuff is the SSH tunnel and how to use SSH tunnel to access internal ports. And the third one is the privilege escalation. So it's pretty cool machine, fantastic machine. I like this. There are many things to learn. Okay, so let's just get started. The first thing we do all the time is the nmap scan. In the nmap scan revealed we have two open ports, SSH and HTTP. Of course, we don't have a predetermined set of credentials, so we're not going to deal with SSH. We're going to head directly to the web server. So we access the web server on the IP address of the machine. I always forget the proxy settings to the previous state, so I'm going to say no proxy. Okay, so you see a game page, and on the left side, I see a login form, and I see a site search. So the methodology here is we can start by exploiting the site search, or we can start by exploiting the login form. In the challenge, it's saying that you have to start with the login form, gain administrative access, and then you can just exploit the site search to reveal the internal database, which is pretty reasonable, since sometimes we will have to have some sort of authenticated access. So it's better to start with the login form and see if you can get authenticated access. If you can't, then you can proceed with the site search and see if you can dump details or database information with your current everyone access. So it's everyone access, right? Or you name it like non-authenticated access, we name it everyone. Okay. So we have two options. The first one is to try some random SQL payload, either in the login field or in the password field, and see if we can get access. Or the second option is to do it the automated way. So we provide a list of SQL payloads to Hydra or Pursuit and see if we can get in. Both works. So let's use the automated one. So we'll have to see what kind of login form is this, right? Is it post or is it get? Does it use post or get request? What are the parameters? These are required to supply to the Hydra command in order to crack the form, or we can just fed this directly to Pursuit. So basically, you're gonna have to enable the proxy back. Okay, and here go to proxy, intercept is on, and now provide some random input and enter. And this is the login form. So the parameters, the first thing to note is the post request. The second thing is the URL. The third are the parameters. So we have the username, password, x equal some number 0, and y equals 0. So in order to use these with Hydra, we will have to provide them in the command line. We use that many times, or we can just send this request to intruder and place the payload somewhere here, either in the username or the password, and see what's going to happen. So since we have used Hydra in the past, in many videos, we're going to do this with Pursuit this time. So we highlight the request, send this to intruder. In the intruder, we go to positions, and here we clear everything. That's right. And we're going to highlight only the username. This is the place where we will try the SQL payloads. So we're going to say add. The type is sniper, try one by one, since we have only one position. And we're going to try the payloads in turn. So it's going to be sniper. Go to payloads. And here we load the payload list. So here we're going to select a list of SQL payloads. Just click load. And here we go back to sec lists, SQLi, or fuzzing. Here we have SQLi, I guess. Yes. I'm going to select SQL version 5 and say options, positions, everything has been set, start attack. Let's see what's going to happen. What is the correct payload? So you see here, the web server is returning a response with identical length, which means that the responses are not valid or don't give us administrative access. Now, the alternative method is we get back to the command line, and also we can just use Hydra. So let's use both, see which one is faster, Hydra, and then we say -l user share fuzzing SQL. Okay, right, and then the password will be some random password. So test the IP address and of course the post request. And then the URL of the page, which was index.php, username equal user, and password. Where's the character? I'm going for the character. Okay, let me copy it then from my virtual keyboard. Okay, and password equal pass. Right, and then we have, it appears right. Okay, x equal, let's say 1. You can choose randomly, and y equals some also 1. Incorrect login. This is the step you get when you have incorrect login. You know that, right? Okay. So out. So right away we get this. Let's see perp suit. What happened? In perp suit we have this one, which stands out. And several ones work. So I'm going to stop this and try them. Stop the attack here. Let's see more. Okay, I'm going to try this with perp suit first. Let's see the copy that and then forward. So we have been granted access. So as you can see, we are redirected to portal.php, which means we have got administrative access. So the payload here that worked is this one, code or 0 equals 0 and the hash character, which is a typical SQL payload. That's the first method. So we're gonna hit X, stop the attack, close per close. Do we need it else? I think I'm not gonna need pursuit anymore. So, or keep it. Okay, keep it. And the next one, or the next method here, as you can see, we can try these. So we can log out. We have a logout here, or we can try a separate login form, a separate login instance. So copy this one. Paste. Here is another access. So both ways works. Okay, I'm gonna keep one. So that's how we use SQL injection, right? Using Hydra or Pursuit. So we can get back now. Now the next thing is to exploit the site search. So if you type code, you see we have a syntax error here. And the error reveals the MySQL server running. So it is MySQL, which is very vital to know before you try the attacks or the SQL payloads. So how do we deal with this? So basically, when we deal with search forms that are vulnerable to SQL injection, our objective is different than the objective we have in mind when we deal with login forms vulnerable to SQL injection. The objective there is to get administrative access. The objective here is to enumerate. So I'm going to enumerate and find out more information about the database, the columns, the tables. So we know now that the database is vulnerable. So the next thing is to determine how many columns we have, right? How many columns. So in order to do that, we're gonna have to use the order by. So we can just type order by one, search. So we have no errors. We're gonna proceed until we get an error. And once we get an error, we're gonna highlight the position and say we have this number of columns. So if we try all the way till 3, 4, so unknown column 4 in order close. So it seems like we have only 3 columns. Now, having determined the number of columns, okay, we have to dump the tables and the columns. And the goal is to dump the hashes of the user and passwords. Hashes of the user, sorry. So how can we do this? Let's open text file, SQL. Here we type the queries and then we copy them. So we're going to use the union select to dump everything. Of course, you know union select. It is union executes more than one query at a time. So we're going to use this. So code union select 1, 2, 3. Since we have 3 columns from information schema tables. Let's see here. This is the first one. Now we're going to craft the second one to dump the tables, right? So you can take this as it is. Now here instead of so 1, 2, 3 from information schema, so we're going to have instead of 2, we will use table schema. And instead of 3, here we put, so we have table schema and table name. So here we dump the tables. Now, after dumping the tables, we're going to have to find out what are the tables, okay, and select a table from which we dump the columns, okay. Now, we can just, without relying on the output from this query, we can just, display all of the outputs. So here we say table name, keep it, I guess, and column name. Since we want to dump the columns, we type column name, and keep information schema. Instead of tables, we have to type columns. Okay, so let's try the first one. So here we have an error. Let's try one more time. Okay, so this dumps, as you can see, title 2 and review 3. So it gives us some data to work with. Now let's try the next one to dump all of the tables. So let's copy that, Control C, and we head back. So this dumps all of the table, as you can see, from the information schema database. Now let's look through the tables and see what we have. So we have users from DB, database DB. We have post from DB, and of course MySQL. There will be nothing interesting here. Performance schema, system. Okay, the one that's interesting is the users. You can just try to dump this, but before dumping this, let's see the columns from here. So let's get back and dump the columns from each table. So now, as you can see, each table and the columns with this table. These are the columns. So see, there are many columns. Let's see here. So table users, right, has username and password. That's what we're looking for. So let's start a query to dump username and password from the table users. Let's get back. So here we type union, select one, and then username pwt from users. Let's check. So we have hash for a username called agent47. So let's use join the record to crack the hashes. Nope. So echo, or I guess let me call a file name called hash, and here we'll take this. And then the hash. So the file called hash. Okay, what's another method to, if you don't want to use the manual methods? Suppose that you are into a pen testing and you want to do a pen test for your client and you have many you have many devices or many targets in your scope. So we want a faster way. So what we can do, we can get back to Pursuit and here turn this on, give the testing query code, capture this, right, copy that, and then we get back to desktop. Seems like the password hasn't been cracked. I see the password. Okay, we're gonna get back to this later. Now here, let's use sudo request. So now we have the request file. We can just now use SQL now. And then say dump the database that we know already is MySQL. Let's see here. Do you want to include all tests for MySQL extend equivalent? No. All right, let's leave this running and open John the Ripper, see why the password hasn't been cracked. Sudo John. No. Okay. So we see here okay, you want to store hashes to a temporary file for eventual. No. Want to crack them? No. So this is the username and this is the hash. And if you scroll up, you can see more details that have been dumped from the database. Let's do John the Ripper a favor and specify the format for the row. So also this doesn't work. No, it worked. Look, this is the password, video gamer 124. So this is the password for the hash or the combination of username and hash that we have found earlier from the SQL map. Now, we can use these now to log into the SSH server. So I'm going to close this one. So here, sudo sh dash, or no dash. What's the username? Agent 47. The IP. The password. Still no luck. Why? Okay. Now we have been granted access to the server. So now we have SSH access, ID, agent 47. Now we can just try and enumerate for we can just now see what we can do to escalate our privileges. So basically here, we can do several stuff. The possibilities are endless, right? But we're gonna go right to the way that works. So basically here, in the challenge, it's saying that we have a service, a hidden service running on a hidden port, and you can't access it from outside the machine. So you will have to find a way to see what is the service, what is the port it is using, and see if you can find a way to access this from your machine. So basically this means that we're gonna have to find or list all of the ports that the machine is listening on. So we can do this with netstat -nuclp, and we can see here we have, this is the SSH, this is MySQL, port 8022, we have 10,000. As you can see, it is listening on this port. And yes, so this is the port, the one that didn't show up in the nmap scan, which means the outside world cannot access it. We can just try to connect with this port. Telnet. So unable to connect to remote host, connection refused. Means that this port is internal and we can't access it this way. So we're gonna have to use some other way. So what's the other way? Of course, the tunneling. So we can just use SSH tunneling to access that port. If we don't want to use netstat, we can also use SS and the same one. And he gets the same output with different formats, and this is the port. So how to access that port? So here, let's split the view, left, right, and do SSH tunnel. So we forward this port to our machine. All right, so here SSH, we use -L for local port forwarding, and we put the port that is to be forwarded and the port that we're going to use to access this port on our local machine. I'm going to keep it the same, so 10,000, and here local host 10,000. Here we put the SSH credentials that we have just got access to. Let's see. The password. Where was the password? So, as you can see, netstat dash nt gunlp. So here we have webmin, right, listening on this port. It was the same output here. So the service is webmin. So let's see what's in there. Or before that, we can just issue nmap scan, right, on this port to see what's running there. Nmap dash sv, or I don't know why I'm doing this. Let me exit. Or I'm confused actually. Let's keep this the same and try to nmap the host on this port. So here, sudo nmap dash sv dash a, no dash a, dash p, the port is 10,000, and here specify localhost. So now we can scan the host on this port. I know it's saying webmin, but we want to get more info about this. So what's saying here? Saying that on port 10,000 you have miniserve 1.580 webmin HTTPD. So you know what we're doing now. So let's get back to browser and okay, cancel this. So here 127 and granted access. Now here, of course, you can also try using Hydra for a combination of credentials or SQL payloads, but save you the time, it's not gonna work. Here, the form is using the same credential we have discovered earlier, so we're gonna get back and grab the credentials. Username agent47, login, and we have been granted access. The next step here is very clear and obvious. So we're gonna have to find the version of this. So webmin version is 1.580, and see here, we have find out it's the same here, 1.580. So look for an exploit. Search exploit webmin 1.580. Okay, this seems to be great. So we have only one, I guess. Webmin. Let's find out about this. Dash in. Nano. So this is a Metasploit module. Okay. So I think we have to use Metasploit to escalate the privileges. So let's, okay. I like to open this in an editor. So I'm gonna head directly to home. Where is home? So here's the exploit. I'll open Github right. Okay. So here, this model exploits an arbitrary command execution vulnerability in webmin. The vulnerability exists in the file shows CGI component and allows an authenticated user with access to the file manager module to execute arbitrary commands with root privileges. The model has been tested successfully. Okay, so it means that if we go to file CGI, we can read files and at the same time we can execute commands. But the command execution works with this exploit only. So we can do this the automated part, and I'm going to try to do this on the manual part. The manual will work like this, I guess. Let me get back to this. So it's file, the handle is file CGI, so CGI, copy that. And here say, for example, etc pass. So we can read files. So here we can just go to root, and find the flag. Let's submit the flag. So the flag is correct, and this is done, but for us, it's not done, since we have to get an actual root reversal. So what we can do, we have two options. We can get back here. No, right here. So basically, clear this one. The first way is to do that with MSF console. So MSF console. And the other way around is to do that manually. Now, with the manual method, we don't need a command line. Okay, so here we look for webmin, search webmin, type exploit name. Right, exploit. This is the one. So take this use show options. Be careful to set all hosts to be local hosts. Set our port 10,000, that's right. Set username agent 47. Set password. Anything else? No. Okay. Exploit. A payload hasn't been selected. Oh, set payload or show payloads. Let me change this to CMD Unix reverse. So here set payload show options. All right, exploit. And this payload worked. Command shell opened, ID, and you are root now. That's how you do it with Metasploit. Now, if you want to do that the manual method, let's get back. So what do we do here? It says we can execute commands, right? Let's look at the exploit that Metasploit has used. So basically here, as you can see, there's a random number of characters, right? And then rn. So basically here, if we take this random number of characters, for example, like that, and next we're gonna look for a reverse shell to execute here. So basically here, this is the same way the exploit, the Metasploit one worked. So we type pipe, and here we put some kind of reverse shell. So let's go to pentest monkey. Pentest monkey reverse shells. And let's open up a listener. I hope it's gonna work because I haven't tried this before. So rwrap nc-lvp 4546. Bash Perl. Let's try this. Here, put the IP of your machine. Port 4546. What's going to happen now? No such file or directory. So it still doesn't work this way, I guess. Let's go to the exploit then. Webmin. Show CGI exploit. And this is it. So see here, there is a random number of characters being generated after file show CGI bin. So if you specify here bin, that's what we failed to do actually. So bin, and the same didn't work. Let's get back. So we're gonna find a way to generate this number of characters, and then comes the command. And the characters are 5. Okay. Brand text alphanumeric. Let's see more about this. But this is in PHP. I want this in Ruby. Ruby. No, wait. Let's see how this works, because I'm not a Ruby experienced, not Ruby savvy tech. So let's see here. Times. Let me copy this one. So over here, this is too long actually. So let's cancel this. And here we have to put some random number of characters. Let's read ourselves. Will be, I don't know. Okay. And then pipe, have the reversal over here. Change the IP. Okay. Still we get this. Let's try Perl. Deport. And show me now. No such file or directory. So it's not working. I don't know why. Seems like these random number of characters are wrong. So basically in this case, we're gonna have to rely on the only way actually I see here. If you have another way, if you can work with this, you can just tell us in the comments. But here, development model worked. And yep, that was for today. See you in the next video.